UFC 307 Pereira versus Rountree is happening this Saturday, October 5th. So I'm going to be going through the entire card with you guys. We're going to start with the early prelims. We're going to end with the main event, of course. I'm just going based off of most of these fighters' last fight. Obviously, as I go up the card and I get more familiar with fighters, I can give more of a detailed breakdown. But for right now, most of the fighters on this card were either going off of their last fight or, if it was too short, their last two fights. And we're going to start off with the opener of the night, which is going to be Tim Means versus Court McGee. Now, Tim Means, he's an aggressive come forward guy. He relies on his wrestling. He seems to have some pretty good shot selection, and he's pretty strong in the clinch. And he uses trips to land his takedowns. Now, Court McGee, also come forward guy. He likes to stand up. His top pressure is pretty good, and he seems to have a decent cardio. I'm going to lean towards McGee getting the win. Moving up, we've got Oven St. Preux versus Ryan Spann. Now, OSP, stand-up guy. He's got good feints, nice, decent strikes. He's got a good reach, and he's really patient with his strikes until he can start landing in a rhythm. He lands counters really well if his opponent isn't careful, doesn't have a good defense going on. Ryan Spann, come forward guy, decent striking, and a decent ground game as well. I have a feeling that Spann is just going to be the faster guy. Like OSP is a bit old. And I think he's going to be faster on the feet. And if it goes to the ground, I think Spann is strong enough to keep OSP down and potentially even get a submission. So I'm going to lead towards Spann taking this fight, possibly submission, but who knows? We got Carla Esparza versus Tisha Pennington. Now, Esparza, very well-rounded fighter. Her striking isn't bad. She has some pretty good wrestling. She was the champ and then lost her belt to Zhang Weilei. Even in that fight, though, she had good moments on the ground. It's just Zhang is I want to say she's kind of a cut above the rest of those guys, rest of those gals in the division, unfortunately for her. So Pennington, she looks strong in the clinch, but she has some close decisions against good fighters. And I just think she just, misses it by a hair. So I think she is pretty strong. And I'm going to lean towards Pennington to be strong enough to bully Esparza. I think that was really the only spot that Esparza really struggles, is that if she lets herself kind of get bullied on the ground sometimes and on the feet. So I think if she lets Pennington do that to her, I think Pennington's going to take the fight. Moving up, we've got Alex Hernandez versus Austin Hubbard. Now, I knew of Hernandez before because I saw some YouTube trash talking clip about when he lost to Cowboy when he was on the come up. Very sad, unfortunate for him. Hernandez, striker, decent defensive wrestling. His strikes are decent, but he does leave his hands a bit low, and it lets him be countered when he's going in for his combos, because he does like to throw combos. Hubbard is a striker as well. Wrestling, he's got a good wrestling game. And he has a good gas tank as well, because if his opponent sets the pace and it's a real high pace, he's going to keep that pace even after his opponent starts to slow down. And so I'm going to lean towards Hubbard taking it as Hernandez starts to slow during the fight. Hernandez, he's a very built dude, big guy for the division. But I just think as the fight goes on, he starts to slow down a little bit, and then I honestly think a big part of his game is just he loses the mental game a bit once he starts to tire and then starts to lose because of it. So yeah, I'm going to lean towards Austin Hubbard taking the fight just because of his gas tank. Ihor Potieria versus Cesar Almeida. Now, Potieria, stand-up fighter, uses wrestling to keep fighters guessing. His last fight that I was watching, he would play at a takedown and then land uppercuts. Very cool. And then he would also trip guys very easily. His stand-up is good, and he can land his combos if you don't throw off his rhythm. Once he starts working and getting in a groove, you're going to be in trouble, because he just gets more and more confident in himself, and then he just gets into a flow state, sort of. I haven't seen a lot of his ground game, but I think he does have confidence in it, considering he's willing to get the takedowns, and I don't think he's afraid of going to the ground, basically. His wrestling, Almeida, a stand-up guy. He's got quick and hard kicks. His wrestling looks like it might need some work. but he was fighting against his last fight was Roman Kopylov. So I guess I'll let it slide. Roman Kopylov. He's a strong kid, fast guy. His striking wasn't bad, and I think it'll be more equal with Potiera, but I am going to lean towards Potiera taking the fight. Moving up, we've got Marina Rodriguez versus Yasmin Lucindo. I don't know if that's Jasmine or Yasmin. Yasmin Lucindo. Who knows? Um, Rodriguez, stand-up fighter. She's got good striking. She's got fast combos. Her defensive wrestling is pretty solid. She's got really good counters, and she knows when to move out after she lands her shots. She doesn't stay and admire her working and end up getting countered herself. She moves in quick, lands her shots, and backs up. Lucindo, come forward fighter. She's got nice strikes. She's good in the clinch, very strong. She seems to hit pretty hard, and she does have a good shot selection. Her takedowns do need a little work, but she does have really good trips. So I'm going to lean towards Lucindo winning the fight, but honestly, I think it's a 50-50 fight. I think it's pretty close. Moving up, we've got, Stephen Thompson versus Joaquin Buckley. Now, Thompson, if you don't know, very skilled striker. He fights from the long range. He's very accurate. He hits pretty hard. But the only issue is that he doesn't really have a ground game, and so he's going to struggle against skilled wrestlers, and that's how he loses primarily. Buckley is mainly a striker who's incredibly tough. Like, he's an absolute dog. He takes shots, but he'll still keep coming and to land his own. He's got good hands. He's got good kicks, and he's got a decent wrestling, especially with his ground and pound. I think I might lean towards Buckley coming in, landing his shots, getting the fight to the ground, and then winning. I think he'll probably win by decision. I don't really see him subbing Thompson, but who knows? So I think Buckley's going to take that fight. Moving up, we've got Roman Dolidze versus Kevin Holland. Now, Dolidze, stand-up fighter, pretty good ground game. He does seem a bit slow, and his punches don't seem to have a ton of power. Kevin Holland, striker, heavy hands. He likes to keep it on the feet, and I think his defensive grappling is just good enough where he's not getting submitted. But I think he does kind of struggle to get back up. And I do think that Dolidze's game plan is going to be to try to get him on the ground. But I think Holland is going to be good enough to where if he is on the ground, he can either get back up or survive on the ground. And once they're back on the feet, I think he has the power to keep Dolidze on the back foot and potentially even finish him. So I'm going to lean towards Kevin Holland in this fight. Moving up, Kayla Harrison versus Caitlin Vieira. Kayla Harrison, she's a wrestling heavy fighter. She's massive for the women's division. Very strong grappling, super strong wrestling. Caitlin Vieira, also a ground game fighter. She's got good takedowns and smothering type wrestling. But I think that Harrison's just going to be stronger than her on the ground. And I think I'm going to lean towards Harrison taking the fight. Yeah. Moving up, we've got Jose Aldo, Mario Bautista. Aldo, legend of the sport. Still beating good, decent competition, even though he's not fighting like the top 10 guys. He's still fighting. He's still beating guys, in the UFC after semi-retiring, sort of. He's got great striking, good takedown defense. I think he stuffed like 16 of Merab's takedowns or something like that. And even at his age, holding his own against younger dudes. Good combos, nice kicks, and just an all-around, very well-rounded fighter. Bautista, stand-up guy, nice strike, nice counters. But I don't think he offers anything on the ground, at least nothing that Aldo's never seen. And I don't think his speed and power is going to be an issue for Aldo. Oh. Excuse me. My goodness. I don't think his speed and power is going to be an issue for Aldo unless he ages overnight. Aldo, that is. So I'm going to lean towards an Aldo decision. Co-main, Raquel Pennington versus Juliana Pena. Now, Pennington, she's a stand-up fighter, decent wrestling defense. Her last fight, she had her outlasting her opponent using her wrestling and then taking over the fight with her better stamina. Her striking is good. Her shots have power behind them. She does seem a bit weak in the clinch. And now Pena is a fighter with really good jiu-jitsu. I don't think her stand-up is terrible. In fact, I think it's pretty decent. And unless Pennington has really improved, I think Pena might use her striking to get in close, get in the clinch, and then get her down with the wrestling. She hasn't fought in a while, so she might be a bit rusty, but it was against Amanda Nunes. But I think I might lean towards Pena taking the fight by sub. I wouldn't be surprised if it went the distance, but I think I'm going to take Pena. Moving up, we've got Alex Pereira versus Khalil Rountree Jr. Main event. Now, Pereira, if you don't know, devastating striker, nasty leg kicks, power in both hands. Just started recently using the jab in his arsenal, and then I think that coupled with his leg kicks allows him to land his power shots. His defensive wrestling is good enough to keep him from getting subbed, but I think like a serious wrestler might give him a bit of a struggle. I don't know if Rountree is that guy. Rountree, he's a striker. He's got a quick jab, quick counters. He's got hard leg kicks, and he's pretty strong in the clinch. He's a built dude. But I think the height difference is going to be a factor. Rountree being 6'1", and I think Alex is 6'3". And I don't like the way that Rountree stands. He stands in kind of a hunched over position, both hands up, right? But he has his right hand really far out, kind of like this, I guess. That make hang on. So this is his right hand, yeah. He has his right hand like way over here, like away from his chin, while he's hunched over like this, and I think that just leaves him really open. For Alex's left hook, Alex has like a signature left hook that he likes to land, and I think that just the way that Rountree's stance is, I think it leaves him incredibly open for that. He can land a counter. I've seen him land counter, like overhand counters against bigger guys, but I don't know if he's going to be the guy that can do that to Pereira, especially if Pereira decides to chew up his legs. Because one of the things about Pereira's leg kicks is that they're very subtle. They're very subtle and they're very hard. People seem to have a real issue with catching them, either dodging them or like trying to check them. So I think Pereira's going to lean, or I'm sorry, I'm going to lean towards a Pereira KO in this fight. So let me know what you guys think in the comments, and I'll see you guys at the fight.